Hello, my friends.
Hi, bitches.
My name is Shannon.
I'm Alyssa.
Welcome back to another episode of B-Movie Bash.
Movie Bash.
Nice.
Real
Sorry.
quick, I just want to say, you might hear the husbands in the background of this one.
They're here hanging out.
They're hanging out.
On their own, not with us.
Yeah, they're doing their own stuff.
I thought about inviting them, but I wasn't sure if they would get bored.
Yeah.
Or,
Zach probably would a little. Maybe a little.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to say,
good.
if you hear them in the background, that's...
Yeah, there might be some man noises and some dog noises, as usual.
The dog noises. I apologize about the dogs.
It's all good. It's all good.
They live here. So
sorry. Can't help it. Okay, so this week we're doing a 2001 movie, so we're staying kind of in that early millennium time frame that we've been in.
Those are my favorites.
Are they?
Kinda.
For bad movies?
For bad movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of... And it's so hard, too, because, they didn't have great CG back then, and so it's is this bad, or is it just what they had to work with at the time,
Right, if they remade it today, would it be a good movie? And to most, I say no.
No, yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it, because no. So this week, we are talking about the movie... Bones.
Okay.
And like I told you, this movie has a very fun actor in it.
Ooh.
I use actor very loosely, but
okay.
actor.
Is it Tara Reid?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is she?
She's a bad actor.
Okay. But no, it's not Tara Reid. So, in the movie, it is revealed right away who it is, but I kind of want to save it.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm going to... I'll talk about him, but I'm not going to tell you who it is until later.
Okay.
So.
I'm excited.
I'm going to just leave that.
Is it someone I love, or is it someone who I've been who is this person?
You know who they are, but I don't think you love them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not the dad from Insidious?
No, it's not the dad. It's not Patrick Wilson. Dang it. Sorry. But it will be a surprise.
Well, now all I can imagine is Patrick Wilson.
I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed.
Dang it, okay.
But also maybe happy?
Okay.
I mean, not happy, but anyway, we'll just hop into it.
Okay.
So this movie has 4.3 stars on IMDb.
Okay.
So not terrible.
I didn't even check the rating of the movie.
Well, what the hell are you doing?
Sorry, I'll look mine up.
Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
So the synopsis is, over 20 years after his death by a gunshot, Jimmy Bones comes back as a ghost to wreak havoc on those who killed him and to clean up his neighborhood.
Okay.
Isn't that so nice of him?
Oh, it's like a weird version of Candyman. All right.
What's Candyman?
You don't know who Candyman is?
I mean, I've heard of it.
It's fine. It's okay.
Okay.
One of these days, we're going to have a movie marathon. I'm going to make you watch all the classics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I just want to set the scene a little bit. This movie, they use lighting and filters a lot.
Ooh.
Okay. And some of it, I understand where they're going with it, and, it adds to the movie a little bit, but it was kind of also a little bit much. So, the entire movie, pretty much, is filmed with, an almost greenish filter. The Twilight filter?
Oh, okay.
It's like that.
Oh!
I don't know if you've seen the meme going around where it's the difference between Twilight with the filter and Twilight in normal lighting. No. It's hilarious. It looks stupid. But yeah, so that's kind of it's all creepy and dark and spookity. So that is the coloration that should be in your brain.
Okay.
And it opens with this big old building that I don't understand at all, first of all.
Okay.
So I thought it was a church. Okay. It is tall and not very wide. It has steps leading up to double doors, but then it's made of stone, and it has the second level of the building has big arched windows, and there's giant stones over the arches. Okay. But then there's also 3 or 4 third or fourth stories on top of that. It's tall and weird. I'll have to show you a picture.
Okay.
It's really fucking weird. I was like, what is this building? 3 different times. I was like, Tony, what is happening? But yeah, so it opens on that. And there's a man who is frantically running down alleyways something is chasing him. And he's carrying a sack of groceries, trying not to drop it. And he's just running for his life. Okay. And he is panicked. And finally he runs up to this door, and he's trying to buzz himself in with it looked like a garage door opener basically, and it buzzes the door open. And so he gets in, and
is this present day?
Yes.
Okay, there are some apartment complexes like that. You have to have a key fob to even get inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be super secure and stuff like that. Yeah. I know.
Well, and the door was a metal door, and the lock was one of those big sliding deadbolt from hell. Things. It was really weird.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. It was
so
like,
why is he have a key fob? Okay.
When it unlocked, it was like, I have no idea. But he gets up into his apartment and he looks out the window down at what was chasing him, and there is a big black dog, like Sirius from Harry Potter, right?
Fun.
And he pulls out a gun and shoots the dog. And the dog is not fazed at all. And in fact, the dog looks up at him and he has glowing red eyes.
Oh.
Okay? Okay.
All right.
So we now see a car. This is like the same timeline, just like a different perspective. So we see a car driving down the street and, it's like dark outside. It's nighttime and they hear the gunshot. And one of the guys is like, oh, okay, great. Now we like are already lost. We don't know where we are, and now there's gunshots. That's great. And so the other guy, there's just like two guys in the car. He pulls out his cell phone. He's like, hey, man, I'm here. Where are you? And the guy on the phone is like, I'm here too. Why don't you turn around, you idiot? And it like focuses behind them and like down the street. There's two other guys standing on the corner. And so they get out and they start to do like a drug deal. And he's like, hey man, you got the stuff? And the drug dealer's like, hey man, you got the stuff? I'm not giving you my stuff without your stuff. And so he pulls out the money and he hands it over. And he's like, okay, so where's the drugs? And the drug dealer's like, man, I don't know if you guys are cops or what. So it's like hidden somewhere. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it is. I was like, so what's the point?
Yeah, why'd you hide it?
If they're cops.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't understand.
Yeah. If they're going to arrest you, they're going to arrest you either way.
Right?
Like,
I don't, yeah. So I was like, how does that, except for them, like, needing to leave to get the drugs, I guess, and then you run away? I don't know. Yeah. But they said that it's behind a loose brick on a building around the corner.
Well, sure, but at that point, I would be like, hey, now you guys are arrested, you're coming with us.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find the drugs.
Because you took my money for drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I don't get. I'm like, what kind of... Okay.
Loose brick around the corner. Got it.
So they walk up, and it's on the old building. This old building. And so they find the drugs, and they're like, oh, yeah, awesome, drugs.
Drugs.
But then they hear the guy's car alarm going off.
Oh.
And so he's like, shit. And so they start running, but they, like, only run around the corner of the building and start to go past the stairs when they see cops, like, coming around with their lights on. And so they decide to run up into this old abandoned building.
Okay.
So they run in, and one of the two police officers gets out. And there's, like, a younger police officer and, like, the old jaded police officer, right? And he's like, oh, I saw them go in here. And the old one's like, man, nobody's in there. Don't go in after them. Like, you don't need to go. I've been working over here for 20 years, and no one's in that building. Don't worry about it.
But like, they could have gone in there.
Yeah. Like, and the one guy, the one cop goes in, and you can hear, like, these people are running up the stairs to get away from the cops, right? Like, you can hear there's people in there.
Yeah.
And he just kind of, like, looks around and, like, goes up a couple stairs, and he's like, and then he leaves. Like, okay, cop. Cool.
Maybe they just assumed it was, like, homeless people.
I guess. And then we get, like, a very quick flashback of the older cop back in his young days, and he just is like, oh, damn it! And he starts shooting, like, toward us, the camera, but we don't know who we are, right? Okay. And that's all of the flashback. Okay. And then the two cops leave. Okay. Okay. So now we see...
kind of a weird place for a flashback.
I know. But there's a lot of flashing back and forth. So it, like, pieces the story together to make the present day make sense. Okay. So we see the two young guys inside the building, and they're, like, quiet and still for a minute, and then they realize that the cops have left, and so they are walking around checking out the building. And there's this set of doors across from them that have, like, glass windows, and there's, like, a blue light from inside. And so they're like, oh, what's that? Let's go check it out, which is rule number one.
Yeah, no.
You don't fucking do it.
Yeah. Is it something a white person would do in a horror movie?
They were white.
Then don't do it. Like, because first of all, you don't know if that's just, like, homeless people living there. Okay? Yeah, true. Like, that could just be them hanging out, having a good time. Worst concept, it could be a murderous coven of witches wanting to sacrifice your soul.
Could be a demon dog coming to eat your face.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah. Like,
I mean, I want to walk in on a coven of witches.
It could be great. I know. It could be a worse drug deal going down than the one you just had, so maybe don't get involved in shit like that.
I know, right? Like, but they go to check it out because, gotta move the story along somehow. And as they're reaching for the door, we see, like, them, and we can see behind them, and there's, like, a creepy shadow hand with, like, weird jagged pointy fingers that, like, reaches up the wall. Kind of a thing. It's like a giant hand. It's a common thing.
But it's just a shadow on the wall?
Just a shadow. Okay. Yep. And, well, it starts with a hand, and then as the hand moves up, we can kind of see body. And it's almost as if it has facial features, but they're not clear at all. It's just kind of like dark eye socket type things in the shadow.
Is this all CGI?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it was. Okay. It was not good at all.
With a green filter over the top.
Yeah.
Of it. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, we see the ghosty figure reaching, and then they get spooked by something. So they don't open the door, and they get spooked, and so they run out. So they run down the flight of stairs, and it was kind of cool. It wasn't very well done, but it was a cool idea. As it's like not a spiral staircase, but it kind of like runs curved along the wall, if that makes sense, and like comes down. And so as they're running down, the wall behind them transforms as they go, and it's like this like ghosty like wall of bodies that are like reaching out and like all creepy. Yeah.
In my head that looks cool, but right? I'm guessing it's not.
It wasn't terrible. Okay. But it was not great. I'll say that much.
Okay.
Yeah. So they make it just outside the front door, and they kind of like collapse on the steps, and they're like laughing and being like, "What the actual fuck is going on?"
No, man? I would keep running.
Yeah, always keep running. Yeah, but they kind of like fell out the front door. And the first guy that we saw is up in his apartment window, and he's yelling at them that they need to get away from this building. And as he's saying this, one of the young guys gets pulled into the house.
Oh, see, you always keep running.
Yep. And his blood splatters on the other guy, and he's like yelling and screaming. And so the second young guy goes to get away, and he starts getting pulled into the house, and he like digs his fingernails into the porch, and there's like bloody, fingernail marks from him now. Yeah. And so he gets dragged in, and that's the end of that scene. But I will say, the blood that they used in this movie was like paint. It was like a weird red. Really? Yeah. It was awful.
Like it's like red. Yeah. Like it's...
But it was even more like a light. It wasn't even like this is dark rusty red.
It's like that red, right? Like that vinyl right there. Yeah. It's exactly like mine was too.
Yeah. Tony was like, is that paint or wax? Or like, what is that supposed to be? Because it's not blood. It looked really bad. Yes. And then the guy across the street, after he gets drug in, he's like up in his apartment, and he starts saying, "For outside are dogs and sorcerers." Revelation 22, verse 15. And he's like holding a cross necklace.
Okay.
Like, all right.
All right,
and
dude.
That's the end of that scene.
Okay.
So now we flash back to 1979.
Well, I think the moral of that story, Shannon, is don't do drugs.
Oh, okay. Deal.
Yeah.
I already wasn't, but now I still will continue to not do that.
Don't.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah.
We have a flashback from 1979.
Okay.
And it's like the same street, but it's a lot more lively. And right now they have a filter that's like very yellowy. So that we know that it's, 1979. And we see there's like funky music that definitely sounds like, funk music from back then. And there's a fancy car that I assume is like a Cadillac or something. Like, it's a nice car.
Okay.
Driving down the street, and the license plate says Bones. Oh. Okay. And we see Jimmy Bones.
Bones.
And this is the guy that I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Okay.
But he's wearing like a pinstripe suit. Ooh. And he has like a matching, like one of those wide brim hats that they wore back in the day. Yeah, he looks like a pimp. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
And he is sitting there flipping a switchblade open and closed. Okay. So he's just like chilling, right? And the car pulls over, and he gets out of the car, and this whole crowd of people start coming up to him and saying hi, and they're giving him money. And I was kind of like, okay. Don't understand what happened. But then I realized that he's saying like, place your bets. Oh. So I guess he's taking money for betting.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't really explain it.
Popular?
They're like, get money.
Yeah, here you go.
Take my money. But basically, this is when like the credits are happening, and so we're just seeing like flashes of how lively the street is, and like open air vendors and kids playing and drug dealing and all that kind of stuff.
Is this daytime or nighttime?
It's daytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a green filter.
With a yellow filter.
Yellow filter, right.
Yellow filter. Right. We're back in time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of goes on for a minute, and then the music kind of goes more menacing, and now we're getting like angled shots of the big old building and like people doing drugs and graffiti and stuff, so you can tell that over time things went bad, and now it's not such a good place to be.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's important.
Yes.
So we flash to present day.
Is this like New York or something?
I don't know where it's supposed to be. But it kind of has that vibe, I guess. Okay. So we flash to present day, and this big van pulls up to the old building, which is now in very bad shape, right? And these 4, like, 20-something-year-olds get out, and they are checking out the outside of the building. And there is Patrick.
Okay.
Bill. Tia.
Okay.
and Maurice.
His name is Tia?
No, the girl is Tia.
Girl
Sorry.
is Tia. Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
So Patrick, Bill, and Tia are siblings.
Okay.
And then Maurice is their friend.
Okay.
So they get out and they're looking at it and they're like, okay, what are we doing here, dude? Like, why did you bring us here? Mm-hmm. And Patrick is talking about how this neighborhood is making a comeback and how awesome it's going to be and all this stuff. And they're like, what do you mean? And he hands his sister a flyer. And on the flyer is, I think it's Bill and Maurice, who are DJs. And it says the name of their club, which is Ilbient, which apparently is a genre of music, but I've never heard of that in my life, and it sounds awful.
Yeah.
Ilbient?
Ilbient, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Hey, you want to hang out tonight? I'll meet you down at Ilbient.
Ilbient.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds dumb. And they're like, oh, that's a cool flyer, but whose club is that? And he's like, it's ours. And they were like, what? No. And so he explains that he bought this building super cheap and that he really wants to turn it into a club so that they can DJ on their own and not just be like doing, kids parties and shit anymore. So
who's hiring a DJ for kids parties?
I don't know.
That's weird. That's like weird.
I mean, kids could mean, 13-year-olds.
I guess that's true.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So they start to head in, but they're all kind of like looking around like this place looks terrible, right? And as Patrick goes to put his key in the door, in the lock, the door pops open.
Oh.
And he doesn't think about anything of it. He just kind of looks back and he's like, yeah, here we go, into my house.
This is our place. Yeah.
And as they walk through, Maurice like looks down at the bloody fingerprint or scratch marks from yesterday, and he's like, no,
that's fun. Yep.
Yeah. And so they're looking around, and there's like crap everywhere. There's like broken shit all over the floors, and Tia steps on something that crunches, and we see that it's part of an old jawbone. Ooh. She's like, please tell me that's from a dog. Yeah. And everyone's like, no, it's not from a dog. It's definitely a human. Yeah. But Patrick's like, I got a really good deal on this place. It's just been sitting on the market for like 20 years. And he says that the last owner was in 1979, and it was owned by Jimmy Bones. Okay. And Maurice is like, wait, Jimmy Bones? And he's like, yeah, have you heard of him? What do you mean? And he was like, dude, he was a local legend in the 70s, and the kids even made up like a rhyme about him. There's like a singing, like a jump rope kind of rhyme. Yeah. But he doesn't really remember how it goes. He just starts to sing. He's like, oh, Jimmy Bones. I don't remember how it goes. I was like, okay.
I feel you, dude. I feel like that every time I like get in the car and I hear a really good song on the radio.
Right.
And I'm not fast enough to pull out Shazam. I'm like,
damn it. It was like, yeah.
You're trying to sing it into Google, and you're like,
Google's like, I do not understand.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you want?
Why is this 90% of my job?
I hate everything. But as he is kind of, singing a little bit and talking about Jimmy Bones, Patrick has kind of like a weird, like, memory flash where he has a vision of himself as a kid and Jimmy Bones, like, handing him money. Just like a bill or whatever. And his dad is like, hey, say thank you to Uncle Jimmy. And he's like, thanks, Uncle Jimmy. And then he rides away in his Cadillac.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the little flash we get.
Okay.
But they're kind of, they're looking around and they're kind of creeped out. And Patrick is like, okay, I'm going to go down to the basement. I'm going to turn on the furnace so we can actually like start, working on stuff. And yeah, he goes down to the basement to turn on the furnace. And as he's walking down the stairs, we can see that it's, like torn apart and there's like rats everywhere and stuff like that. And behind him on the wall, we see the same shadowy hand like stretching across. But then he like turns and shines his flashlight and it goes away. So he finds the breaker box, which also has rats in it. And he flips it on and we see the furnace like roar to life with fire. And as that happens, we like first person camera like whoosh through the house as like this spirity thing, I guess.
Okay.
And we like zoom up to like a locked door that is padlocked and it's like shaking and trying to open. Okay. And then it like whooshes into another room where there's like a dirt floor and there's like a mound, which, we can assume what that is. And the mound is like breaking apart. There's like cracks in it and there's a bright green light glowing through this mound of dirt. Okay. And then it like...
In my head, this is really cool, actually. Yeah. So like...
It's not.
Okay.
No, it's not. And then it zooms back up to Patrick. So we see him. And then as he walks back up the stairs, we are like looking at him as if we're the thing.
The thing.
And there's like a red warped filter effect.
Okay.
So there you go. And then we see Tia, who is exploring on her own, and she's kind of like walking through the upstairs, and she's like eating a hamburger that I guess they stopped and got somewhere. And she hears something from behind this closed door. And so she goes to check it out, which again, why?
Yeah.
Like, get one of the men at least to come with you.
Because again, you don't know if there's homeless people. Could be literally
anything.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. It could be a dog. It could be a raccoon. It could be the fucking rats in the rest of the house. And all I'm saying is I'm not going to get bit by rats.
No.
So
I don't want rabies.
No. But again, if I'm thinking this is like a decrepit old building, I would assume homeless people are living in it.
Probably.
And first of all, I don't want to disturb them.
No.
Second of all,
I don't know what they want to... Yeah.
Exactly.
They could be dangerous.
They could be dangerous.
Yeah. You could be on drugs.
Again, there could be drug deals going on.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah. But she opens it. Because,
Is she white, too?
Yes. Okay, so actually, I should probably set this up. Patrick and Bill are black.
Okay.
She is white. So I think the parents married each other later in life.
Okay.
Okay. And then Maurice is Mexican, I think.
That's a pretty Hispanic name.
Yeah. So there's a lot. It's definitely like a black entertainment television type movie.
Okay.
Which isn't a bad thing, but they do a lot of like black rights and the man and stuff. But yeah, so she opens the door and we see that same big black dog. And he starts like barking and growling immediately and has glowing red eyes.
Okay, yeah.
Which she says nothing about.
I would just, absolutely slam that door shut and be running, screaming, there's a fucking dog in here, call animal control.
She also doesn't, like, scream or jump or anything. She just freezes. And, like, you can tell she's scared, but she, like, didn't react at all. And then she just kind of, like, hands her burger and she's like, hey, puppy, do you want some food? Please take it. How long have you been in here? And he takes it from her, and the dog is, like... wolfing this thing down like he has not eaten food in years, right? He is just like and as that happens...
Is it a real dog? Like, did they get a real dog, or is it like...
I think it's a mix of, like... I think there is a real dog there, but then there's also, like, CGI aspects to it. But as he's eating the burger, we can, like, see... We're, like, from the dog's perspective of her, like, handing the burger over, and behind her is, like, a shadowy, smoky thing.
Okay.
But I think as soon as the dog starts eating, the shadow kind of goes away.
Leave it to a white chick to befriend the demon dog in the house.
Yeah.
So...
And then she like, takes him downstairs.
I would, too. Right? I would be like, hello, don't be a demon
what
puppy.
if it's a serious black?
Oh, yeah.
You never know.
Never know.
But it switches to another scene of Patrick, who is standing around with the other guys. And he's like, I think we should just move in here because where they live is like another section of town, like a different borough kind of a thing. And so I think they live kind of a little bit further away. And so he's like, we should just move in here so we can take shifts and do all of the work we need so we just get it done and get it open. And as they're talking, Tia walks down the stairs with the dog. And she's like, yeah, I'm keeping the dog. I'm naming him Bones because that's funny. Ha, you know? And they're like, okay. Okay.
And she's like, well, it's happening, so.
Yeah. And then they decide to head out and get some supplies. And as they're leaving, like, Maurice and Tia walk out, but Bill kind of pulls Patrick aside and he's like, does Dad know about this? And Patrick is kind of like, well, you know, no, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. He'll think it's awesome, you know? And so they walk out onto the front steps and the crazy guy across the street is like, why are you hanging out with that dog? You need to shoot that dog. You shouldn't be in that building. And it's just like yelling at them.
You're like, no, I'm going to keep feeding this dog.
Okay,
and he's going to be a great guard dog of the building. Thank you.
And so they're just kind of like,
saying,
all right,
if
buddy.
If you befriend the demon, then they want to keep you protected. Is all I'm saying. So like,
that's what the books tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not my romance.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, so they kind of ignore him, and they start getting into the van, when out of fucking nowhere, this older woman comes up, and she's like, don't feed that dog! And they're like, whoa! And she says, some holes can't be filled, and some hunger can't be satisfied. And they're like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm sorry your husband left you, but like...
so sorry
that's not our...
whatever trauma happened in your life, but... Yeah. And so she kind of like grabs her daughter who's with her. She's like an older teen, maybe 20-ish daughter. And they keep walking. And Patrick and Maurice realize that they're carrying groceries and also realize that the daughter's really hot. And so they're like, oh, can we help you with your groceries? We're new to the neighborhood and we live here now and it's like we're neighbors. And she's like, you live in that house? And he's like, yeah, I bought it and it's pretty cool. And they're like, no, it's not. But yeah, so they walk up to this like apartment that's like a tarot mystical reading seance shop on the bottom, and then they live upstairs. So they walk up, and we learned that the mom's name is Pearl and the daughter's name is Cynthia.
Okay.
But yeah, so they help them out, and then the mom and daughter are gonna go inside, and the guys leave, and we see the mom like peeking out her window at them as they walk away.
Very mom thing to do.
Yeah. And then they all pile in the car, and there's this stupid short scene where Maurice is like pulling out food and handing it to everybody, and Bill is in the back, and he's like, what happened to KFC? I thought we were getting KFC. And Maurice is like, KFC is run by the KKK, and there's something in their secret recipe that makes the black man sterile, and we can't be feeding into that. And Patrick's like, don't worry about the plight of the black man because you're not black.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was just a really random scene. That's it. It. So now we switch to an empty bar where the owner of the bar is playing pool. And he has, like, a sex worker, I guess, with him. Because she's, like, very scantily clad and, whatever. And he's just, like, playing pool. And the drug dealers from the night before come in. They're like, man, we got you this car. And, we did this great drug deal last night. And he's like, I am upset that you killed those two guys just to get their car. And they're like, we didn't kill them. They ran off and we just took the car. I don't know what you're talking about. And the owner is still upset, and he's like, I don't need shit like this going on my street. I pay the cops a lot of money to keep things chill around here, and I don't want you fucking it up.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we see the van pull up to this super nice house, which is like the family's house in this nicer suburb. And we see them feed the dog a whole bowl of just raw fucking meat. Okay. Like chopped up raw meat. Okay. Which I was like, all right.
I mean, they like it, but like they need some greens and some stuff in there.
Something.
Like if you're gonna put your dog on a raw food diet, they need to have more than just meat.
Yeah.
Like
it was a lot.
Yeah.
But the parents come in, and the mom sees the dog, and she's like, Dad's not gonna like this. Yeah. And Dad walks in, and he's like, so not only do I need to feed the 3 mouths that I have, plus Maurice, the bottomless hole, but now I have to feed this dog?
Yes.
And the dog starts growling at the dad, and Tia's like, Bones, calm down, chill out. And he's like, what did you call him? And we see the dad have a flashback of him talking to Jimmy Bones about this big deal that's going to go down, and he just wants him to meet up with these guys and just hear what they have to say and all this stuff. He talks about how, like, the cop guy is involved too, and this is going to make big changes for them, and they can better their lives, and they can move out of this neighborhood and do something with themselves. And Jimmy's like, I don't want to leave this street. Like, this is my home. I don't want to ever leave here.
Yeah, I like it here.
Yeah.
I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
Everybody loves me. They give me money.
And then we see present day cop who is going into that same bar where the owner was. And we learn that the owner's name is Eddie Mack. Okay? That's what he goes by. It's Eddie Mack. And he's like, it's not really usual for you, Eddie, to be killing your customers. Talking about the guys who died. And Eddie's like, I didn't kill anyone. I had nothing to do with that. We didn't do that. Whatever. And the police officer gives him this, like, baggie of drugs. And he says that he, like, confiscated it and he brought it in for Eddie. And so Eddie gives him a big roll of money for it. And the cop is like, oh, is that all I get for
sweeping it under the rug? Or
no, for, like, the competition is gone. But I don't know how to say that. I can't remember what he says, but
axe the competition.
Basically, yeah. He's like, that's what I get for bringing it from these people and giving it to you, you know? And so he gives him another roll of money, and he's like, oh, that's all I get? As he, like, creeps his hand up the sex worker's leg, and she's like, no, don't touch me.
She's like,
I have a person, thank you very much.
Wait, is this the same cop from earlier in the movie? Is this the old guy? Okay.
Yeah, this is the old cop. Okay. Yeah. I think his name was, like, Lupovich or something weird.
That's a weird name.
Yeah, I never wrote it down. So as the cop gets ready to leave, Eddie's like, hey, why did Jeremiah sell that old building? And he turns around and he's like, what? And then it cuts.
Okay.
So we're back at the home, and the dad turns on the news, and they see the story about the 2 old college students who died in the building. Did I say old? The 2 college students who died in the building. And the dad talks about how that was his old neighborhood, and he worked so hard to get out of there because it was not a great place. And the doorbell rings, and so the dad gets up to answer it, and it's the cop. I think I'm just going to call him Lupovich because that's easier, even though I don't know if that's actually his name. And the cop is like, why did you sell the building? And the dad's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't sell the building. And he's like, well, someone bought it, so someone sold it, Jeremiah. Okay? And that's the dad's name.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And as they're talking, Tia opens the door and she's like, hey, Dad. And he's like, oh, I'm just talking to a friend. I'll be in just a second. And so she closes the door and the officer is like, wow, nice rack. He's like, that's my daughter.
Yeah, and
you fucking creep.
You're going to get stabbed. Don't talk about my daughter like that.
And then that's the end of that scene.
Okay.
So now it's the next day, and we see the group working on the building, and they are, like, bringing in equipment, and there's, like, ladders, and they're, like, getting shit done.
Uh-huh.
And Cynthia walks past, and she stops to talk to Patrick about how, like, this building is bad luck, and they shouldn't be in there, and her mom says all these bad things, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, yeah, what does your mom say? And she says that every house is actually two houses, because there's the regular, like, house of the living, but then there's also the city of the dead. And there's like a veil separating, you know, the living from the dead. And if something were to break it, if something bad were to happen, the wall would break and who knows what happens after that.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Okay. And then we cut to later where Bill is laying in his bed and he's listening to his Discman. Mm-hmm. And he's just like jamming with his eyes closed, which I was like, okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Okay.
But as he is laying there listening and jamming and stuff, we keep getting shots of like that locked door and the walls around him turn into those like ghosty, slimy, creepy bodies. Okay. It's just like a wall of bodies.
Okay.
That are like reaching out to him and they're like sticky and slimy and like it was pretty good. The CG version of it wasn't my favorite, but like they did some practical stuff with like people. It looked like they were covered in, like, a charcoal face mask, essentially. And so they were, like, reaching out. And it does, like, a close-up of him laying in bed. And there's just a bunch of hands, like, reaching closer and closer to his face. Yeah. And they're, like, breaking away from the wall and stretching out to him. And all of a sudden he hears this loud voice say, get out! And so he, like, shoots up and he, like, pulls off his headphones. And he's like, what the fuck? Uh-huh. And so he yells out and he's like, Patrick, stop messing with me. Like, that's not funny, you dummy, you know, whatever. And he lays back down and up above him on the ceiling is like this circular mirror, which, lovely. But in that mirror, we see Jimmy Bones' face. And he says, go boy. He just like yells at him, go boy. And he's like, freaks out. And so Bill jumps up and he runs to the door. And as he opens it, Patrick is standing there and he's like, ah! And he freaks himself out. And Patrick's like, is everything okay, man? Is everything cool? And he's like, yeah, I think I just freaked myself out. Yeah. And Patrick's like, yeah, this
I would have assumed that I fell asleep. You know, like, that had to have been a dream. Like, that's
too weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very strange. We now cut to Pearl, who's in her shop setting up a seance for some clients. And upstairs, Cynthia is painting a picture of this naked woman. Her body is all white. Mm-hmm. And then she's like laying in a pool of red. Okay. Essentially, like a big puddle pool of red. And then Pearl comes up the stairs and into her room to ask if she's joining them for the seance. But she's like, I gotta finish this painting for school. I can't this time. Mm-hmm. And the mom is like, I don't want you wasting your vision and your talent on this painting nonsense. Rude, first of all.
Yeah, Mom, let me just keep living in my tarot shop for the rest of my life.
Right. Like, and she said, Cynthia's like, well, I don't want to waste my talent like you did. Oh. Which, you know, nice.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's bash on each other. It's fun.
But then the mom says that she doesn't want Cynthia going back to that house or being around the people or the dog because he's a servant of evil and it's a bad place and it's a door to what's worse, period.
Okay.
Yep. So then Pearl goes into her room and she pulls out like this metal, like tin, like a trinket box kind of a thing. And she pulls out a picture and we see a picture of her and Jimmy. Okay. She's like got an afro and he's like in his fancy hat and stuff. And she in the picture is looking out and he is kind of like looking down at her. Yeah. It's really cute. And as she's looking at that, we get a flashback of the two of them walking down the street and they're talking about this big meeting that's happening tonight, this big deal. And she's like, well, can I read your hands? I just want to see how it's going to go. Let me read your hands. And so she does. And she notices that there's a line cutting across his lifeline. And she's like, I don't feel really good about this, Jimmy. Like, maybe you shouldn't go. Just stay with me. Like, please. She starts, like, begging him. She's like, please, I don't feel good about this. And it was so dumb. So when she says that there's a line across his lifeline, he's like, maybe it's my clothes line or my phone line. It's like, you're trying to be funny and it's not working. But anyway, so she's, like, begging with...
Stick with the drugs, Jimmy.
She's begging him to stay with her. And it like flashes back to present day Pearl and she's looking at the picture. And as she's looking at it, Jimmy's face shifts from looking at old Pearl to looking up at her. And so she like freaks out and drops it. But when she picks it up again, he's still looking at her. Yeah. The past will haunt you. So we flash back to where Cynthia she's walking up to the old house or old building, whatever you want to call it. And she goes inside and there's like nobody in the immediate like entry room, but she can hear like music and there's like talking and giggling and like whispering and stuff. And so she walks in and she's kind of like walking around, and then Patrick walks up and scares the shit out of her. And she's like, I just thought you guys might need some help. And so we cut to the other three who are in a different room, and they see this puddle of blood on the floor, which it does not look. It seriously looks like
a bucket of red
flood consistency red icing.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
okay,
yeah, it's so bad. Okay. Yeah. So they are like, wow, that looks like blood. And Tia like touches the floor and she says, and the floor is throbbing too.
Oh,
like, what the fuck is happening?
Giggity.
And Patrick just plays it off and is like, oh, it's probably the plumbing. Like, let's just go check out the plumbing in the basement. Like, what the fuck?
But that's blood, sir.
You have blood running through your pipes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go down into the basement.
I mean, I would have been like, it's probably like red algae or something like that. Like, it's, you know, like something. Just something.
Well, and when they get to the basement, they say, oh man, it's just rust. And I'm like, rust is not that color.
No.
You playing yourself.
Yeah.
But they go down into the basement. And they see that the pipes downstairs are also dripping with blood, and it's like pooling on the floor. Mm-hmm. And once they get down there, Bones immediately goes to the door that's padlocked and is just like scratching at it furiously. So the gang breaks open the lock. And as they were doing that, someone was hitting it. We couldn't see who, but someone was hitting the lock with like a pipe or something. And one of the other guys was like, yeah, eat your spinach, boy, blah, blah, blah. And Tony was like, kids these days won't even get that reference. That's so sad.
That's so sad.
But anyway, they get into the door and they start to go down this tunnel. It looks like a cave. Like someone had like made this place where there wasn't a place.
Okay.
It was weird. But there are hundreds of flies swarming this place, okay? And so they're like trying to get through. No, they go in.
No, shut that door.
I know.
It's padlocked for a reason. God put a padlock on that door for a reason.
But they go in and they like kind of go down the tunnel for a minute, and then they get into this big open like cavern room, and the mound is on the dirt floor here. And Bones starts to go over and dig, and the group is just kind of like checking things out. They don't even like pay Bones any attention. And they're like, this would make a great recording studio. There's great acoustics down here, blah, blah, blah. But Cynthia is watching Bones, and as he's digging, he starts uncovering a skull. Oh. And so we can see the skull, but then there's also a flash of, like, Jimmy's face, like, CG'd over it, so you know it's his body, because you didn't know that before.
Like, the whole thing is...
Yeah, but the rest of the group sees the skeleton, and now we see that there's also a knife sticking through his ribs. Oh. Which, like, he's a skeleton, so, like, the knife shouldn't be sitting in his ribs anymore.
No, it should be, like, sitting off to the side.
Yeah.
Like, because I would have been able to be like, oh, 2 and 2 together. Knife, body.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah. You see the skeleton, and Maurice, he's like, oh, it's just like the kids' rhyme, and now he remembers more of it. And so the story, or the rhyme goes, Jimmy Bones, black as night, hard as stone, gold-plated deuce like the king of Siam, got a switchblade loose and a diamond on his hand. Okay, so there's like the switchblade knife, and then there's also a ring on his hand. Okay. So he's like, it must be Jimmy Bones.
I would have assumed that.
I mean, yeah, it's his house. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but
that, or he murdered someone and buried him in the basement, like, right? You know, anyway.
Yeah. And as he's like saying the rhyme, we kind of get like a flashback of what Jimmy used to look like, and like it shows the ring on his hand and the same ring on the skeleton and stuff. But as they're checking out the skeleton, Cynthia notices that it's laying on like a piece of fabric. And so she goes to reach for it, but as she does...
No, you're supposed to be calling 911.
You would think so.
You'd think so.
As she does, Bones starts barking and growling like crazy, and his eyes go red. Which, again, no one fucking talks about. Like, why is that not an issue? I don't understand. But, yeah, so she's, like, reaching for the cloth, and Maurice also, like, grabs the knife, and Tia's like... That's evidence. Like, what are you doing? We need to call the police. Knock it off. And they're like, no, we can't call the police right now. Like, we are trying to open this place. We will deal with it after.
No, I guarantee you, they would literally show up, be like, oh, yep, that's a dead body. It's been dead for a long time. Give us a day or two to look at this. And they're not even going to shut down the whole building. they're literally gonna like shut down like this.
I mean, but there could be evidence throughout the building.
Possibly, but like
so they'd have to search.
They're not gonna care that much.
I don't know.
Like, I really don't think the cops in this neighborhood are gonna care that much. They're gonna be like, yep, that's a dead body. We'll just take the body and the evidence. Thanks, bye. Like,
but yeah, they say they're gonna worry about it after they open, which seems backwards because then you're gonna have to shut down your business for however long they need. I don't know.
I would be doing that right now.
Yeah, but
not only that, that's hiding evidence. You could be charged.
Be like, oh, we just found it. Yeah. Now.
I mean, I guess they could, but like,
yeah,
you know, it's
dumb.
It's dumb.
So they decide to leave, and the group is kind of walking away, but Cynthia is kind of staring off, and she sees this ghost-like figure, you know, off in the distance, and we can't really see facial features or anything, but she is staring at it, and then we can also see it staring back at her with like a wonky filter on top, right? And Patrick kind of grabs her and is like, are you okay? Everything good? And she's like, oh, yeah, let's go. So they start walking up the stairs, and Maurice is the last one there. And he like breaks off the ring finger and is like, he's not going to need this anymore. And he takes the ring and drops the finger and walks upstairs.
Maurice!
Yeah, he's kind of a dick.
Maurice!
Yeah.
Illegal,
but also you're going to get your ass haunted.
Yeah.
Are you dumb?
That's so dumb.
They haven't seen
You want ghosts movie. Because that's how you get ghosts.
You get ghosts, you motherfucker.
Oh my gosh. If anything, this ghost was probably like, yes, they found my body. Yes, I can finally move on. Yeah. You bitch,
you just stole my ring?
I'm coming after you. I'm staying here. We're gonna, like,
yeah.
That would be me. I strive to be that level of petty.
Yes.
So.
Well, don't steal my shit.
Don't steal my shit.
Come on.
Don't take my body and cremate it and put it into an urn to plant trees because that's how you get haunted forests.
I mean, that sounds like the best thing to do.
True. What I actually, like, my goal had been in life until I found out that it's actually all fake is to, when you die, they can cremate you and, like, turn you into a diamond or whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to be turned into a diamond and then put in the hilt of the sword so that my offspring could avenge my death. Right? But then I was like, I learned, like, this whole thing on TikTok that, like, actually.
It's not true?
It's not true. They can't, like, your body disintegrates faster than you have to have a certain temperature to create diamonds,
and you'd be like melted.
You'd be like completely gone by then.
Lame.
Yeah, so they're basically just like selling you cheap diamonds, super cheap diamonds.
Wow.
Yeah, and being like, yeah, that's your family member. Like,
jeez, death industry.
I know.
What a dick.
I know. I mean, if they were like, it's a memorial diamond, I'd have been like, hell yeah, sure, that's fine, cool. Yeah.
But yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
I want my ashes to be put into a firework and for me to be blasted off into the sky.
Fuck yeah, bitch. I got you.
Thanks.
Yep. I don't know what I want done with my body.
That's okay.
We'll figure it out.
We hopefully have plenty of time to figure that out.
Yeah.
But as Maurice is grabbing the ring, we see, like, the shadowy figure again behind him, like, creeping up the wall, right?
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Bitch.
The next scene, we cut and we see Bones eating this big bowl of raw meat again.
Okay.
And
maybe they tried to give him, like, kibbles and bits, and he was like, no.
Fuck that shit. Yeah. Maybe. But this makes sense now, because as he's eating, we also see clips of the skeleton, you know, who is now unearthed, and it's starting to, like, form muscle and tendons.
Okay.
They did it in a really creepy way, though, because, like, the tendons, instead of just, like, appearing there...
Yeah, like fading on.
Yeah, it's like, it, like, snakes down his arms and bones and is like... Like, I'm here now. It was really creepy. I did not like it at all.
So, the dog eating the meat...
feeds the skeleton.
Okay, got it.
For reasons.
I mean, if you get a ghost hound on your side, I mean...
Yeah.
I guess. So, can you, he ate a hamburger, and it was probably like, yeah, there's on my pinky toe. Like,
maybe, but also, like, it didn't show that at all. So I'm like, did he need to be, like, did the door need to be opened and he needed to be discovered before? I mean, because otherwise he'd be like, I'm alive in this locked room, yo, hello.
I died again. Like, just
eat some more meat, please. Yeah, I don't know how it works, but that's what happens.
Okay.
So we see that Patrick and Cynthia are up in his room, and she's talking about how her mom doesn't want her to be there and all this stuff. And he's like, well, I can handle your mom, but I don't know anything about your dad. And she's like, well, neither do I, because he left when I was really young and I never met him, and my mom won't talk about him. Jimmy.
He got killed.
Right.
So.
And Patrick is like sitting there trying to open a bottle of wine, and he's like, I'm not doing very well with this. And Cynthia's like, you're doing just fine. And she starts like kissing up on him.
Wait, are they cousins? No? Okay.
No, we're good. He's not actually his Uncle Jimmy.
Okay,
yeah.
It's like...
He's like Uncle Jimmy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
I get that. Okay.
I didn't even think about that, man. Yeah.
Well, I was like...
Wait a minute. No, we're good. But so they start kissing and they like make out on the bed and they lay down so that Cynthia is like laying underneath him, right? Mm-hmm. And as they're kissing, a shadow like passes over them. Oh. And Cynthia's eyes like pop open and she's like, oh, we need to stop. We need to be done. We can't do this. We need to stop. Uh-huh. And Patrick is like,
he's not here.
Right? He's like, do you want me to take you home? And she's like, no, I want to stay here with you guys. I don't know. And he's like, I'll go sleep in my brother's room. It's totally fine. Okay. It's like, so nice.
Nice guy. Nice guy, Patrick.
Yeah. And then this part does a lot of like weird fuckery, like cutting back and forth craziness. So I'll just tell it to you the best I can. Okay. So we cut to the mom who's setting up another seance, and it goes back and forth between like the seance and the daughter sleeping. And she has a group of people and they're all holding hands and stuff, right? And the mom is like, the spirit world is all around us and the departed are among us, and you know, knock once for yes and twice for no. Who is here? Blah, blah, blah.
By ringing a bell.
Exactly. Yeah. MVPs will know what that's from. But as this happens, Cynthia's door creeps open and we see someone crawl into bed with her. Like, get under the covers. And she's like, okay, you can stay, but like, you can't get fresh. And her eyes are closed and she's like facing away. So it is like, you know, spooning her. And an arm like wraps around her waist and she's kind of like cuddling up and stuff, you know. But then he starts feeling her chest. And she's like, okay, Patrick, no, like, you can't do that. Stop. And she's like pushing his hand off.
No, just
Okay. And meanwhile, the seance is going and there's like someone coming through and she's like, are you here for this person? No. Are you here for this person? No. Are you here for me? And there's like the one knock for yes or whatever. And it cuts back to Cynthia and the hand starts to reach lower and she's like, no, stop, get off, no. And then there's another clip of young Pearl who's yelling for Jimmy, and there's like a clip of someone doing drugs and like Cynthia laying in all white in a pool of red, and it's just like this trippy like flashing back and forth. The mom in like present day, her head is like rolled back and she's like twitching and seancing and all this stuff. And I was like, what the hell? And like each time it goes back to Cynthia laying in the blood, it like becomes more and more until it like goes over her entire body. And I was like, what is happening? We also see Jimmy in like a backlit hallway, so all you see is his silhouette in his fancy hat, you know. And finally, Cynthia sits up and she's like, Patrick, stop! And she realizes that no one's in the room with her. So if that was Jimmy, you fucking nasty ass.
What? I'll take the kissing cousins, thank you very much.
Not like, the freaking pervy dad. Yeah, no. Like, what is happening? Yeah, I don't know. We were like, that's your daughter! You're nasty.
Maybe it's just a different spirit. Maybe like it's just she's on that side and the veil is thin there and it's just other things.
The veil is real thin. Yeah. I don't know.
It better not have been Jimmy.
Yeah,
it should have been Tia,
right? Like that would have been something.
Yeah, because like that. At least they're not related.
Yeah. But yeah, so she sits up and she yells, and Patrick comes in the door and he's like, "What's going on?" And Pearl is freaking out, and she runs across the street to the house, and she's like banging on the door, calling for her daughter. And so Cynthia rushes downstairs and she's like pulling her clothes on, and Pearl like grabs her and takes her home, and she's like yelling back at the group and is like, if you stay in that house one more night, you might as well be sleeping in your grave, and like just like yelling all this stuff at them. Okay. So it's a new day. We see a clip of them putting up their sign over the door that says like the name. It's like their whatever, Ilbient. There we go. And then we cut to Patrick, who's driving his dad down to see the place, but he's like, yeah, you gotta come see my new business venture that I started all by myself. It's so great. And he's like, I bought the building through a broker so that you wouldn't even know, because it was his company that sold it and all this stuff. And they pull up and the dad is like, why are we in this neighborhood? And he was like, well, it's making a comeback, it's gonna be great. And he's like, no, I worked very hard to get us out of this neighborhood, like this is not okay. And Patrick is like, Dad, I'm opening this club. I did this all by myself. Like, we worked really hard for this. And the dad, like, freaks out and is yelling at him. And he's like, you shut it down and sell it back to the company now. Like, we will buy it back from you. You need to shut it down. And he's like, Dad, I'm opening tonight. We're not selling. I'm doing this thing for myself, you know? And the dad is like, fucking sell this place. This is bullshit. That is a fucking order. Do you fucking hear me? And they're like going off on this kid. And he's like, just shut it down. And as he's getting back in the car, he sees Pearl across the street, who's just kind of like looking. And the guy up in the window is also looking down, watching.
Who's this guy in the window? Do we find out who he is? Okay.
Yes, we do. As he's kind of like looking at Pearl and the guy, we get a flashback of Jimmy walking up to the building in its heyday and going up his fancy elevator with like the closing gate situation.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Going up to the top floor, and that's kind of like his meeting room. And he sees Jeremiah, Eddie Mack, and Lupovich. And they talk about this business deal and how great this new drug is and how easy it's going to be to sell.
Meth?
I don't know what it was, but it was crystal-y, so maybe. But Eddie gives him a pipe and a baggie, and he's like, you got to try it, Jimmy, so you know what you're selling, you know? And Jimmy's like, listen, I don't want to try it. I don't need a partner. I don't need a new venture. Like, I don't want any of this. And I don't want you to sell it around here. And Eddie gets really upset, and Jimmy's bodyguard has to, like, calm him down. And Jimmy's like, your 12 minutes are up. You can leave. Like, you don't need to be here anymore. And as they kind of get up, they're all, like, upset and stuff. And Jeremiah is trying to talk to Jimmy and, like, because they're, like, old friends. And he's like, man, you just try it out. Hear me out. Just listen about this deal, man, okay? Just try it out. And as they're talking, Eddie Mack and Lupovich pull out their guns.
Oh.
Yeah. And they get Jimmy to try the drug because he's at gunpoint at this point, right? They just, like, shove the pipe at him. And he starts tripping hard. And it's like double vision, you know, blurry and whatever. Yeah. And as this happens, we hear the elevator ding and Pearl walks in. Great. And Jimmy, in his high state, pulls out his switchblade and like swipes and cuts Lupovich's arm. And as he does that, Eddie Mack shoots him a couple times. Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
He gets shot a couple times.
Okay.
So he falls to the ground, and Lupovich is like, I am not going down for this alone. Everybody needs to leave a print. And so he hands Eddie Mack a blade, and he stabs him. And then he tells Jeremiah that he needs to go next. And then the bodyguard goes next, and finally Pearl.
No.
And she's like, I can't do this. I'm not going to do it. And he's like, well, it's either you stab him or I'm killing you.
Oh, then you're killing me, bitch.
Right?
Like, I ain't stabbing nobody.
Yeah. But she gets down, and she grabs the knife, and she's like, I love you. But then she like waits for a second, and Jimmy reaches up and grabs her hand and plunges it into himself. I know. Yeah. And then I'm not sure why. It makes sense for the movie, but it's stupid. The cop is like, we'll have to bury him in something, and he literally reaches down, grabs the back of Pearl's dress, and just rips it off. Like, she's just in her underwear. I was like, is it a rip-away Velcro dress?
Yeah,
like, what do you mean?
Like,
no.
Also, there's, like, anything. Is there a curtain? Can we get a curtain up in here? Like, instead of, well, I guess I'll just walk down the street in my underwear, and when people ask what, I'll be like, well, I was just part of a murder of my boyfriend, and he's buried in the basement. They took my dress to wrap up his body.
It's 1979. No one's going to ask questions, okay? It's fine. So we cut to the club, which is now open, and it's like full of dancing people, and there's music and blah, blah, blah. And we see Cynthia show up, and she walks over to Patrick, and then we see the dog come down the stairs into the party, and it like gives us a close-up shot of Jimmy's ring on Maurice's finger.
Ooh.
The dog walks into the crowd and transforms into a woman.
Okay.
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 And she is basically wearing like a black bikini with like one of those like lacy dress slip covers over it.
Okay.
You know, just, you know, that's how people dress for clubs, I guess.
Yeah.
And she walks up, and Maurice is DJing up front. And so she's like dancing all sexy and like licking her fingers and like gesturing to him and stuff. And so he's like, hey man, can you take over? I gotta go do some things. And so I think it's Bill who takes over. So he follows her upstairs into one of the rooms, and there's like wind like blowing her hair, and she's like being all sexy and whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, here comes the gangster of love coming to get you, and like all this stuff, and it's nasty. And she like leans in toward him, and then all of a sudden the dog face like comes out and attacks him and starts eating him. And as this happens, we see Jimmy's body like gaining more muscle and flesh because she's eating him.
Yeah.
And then downstairs we see, I think, Bill, They looked a lot alike. I don't know. But I think Bill was DJing and he's like, hey, Patrick, can you go find Maurice? Because that gangster of love is upstairs and I need a break. Like, can you go find him? So Patrick goes upstairs. You just
took over.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's been a minute. Maybe he really needs to pee.
Maybe.
I don't know. But Patrick goes upstairs and he hears a noise coming from that room and he's like, okay, buddy, get decent because I'm going to come in there, you know. And he goes in and he sees the dog chomping on Maurice, you know. And the dog looks up and, like, half transforms into, like, humanoid face, but it's still a dog face. It was like a human face mask layer. It was, I don't know. Okay. It was weird. It was stupid. It was dumb. But the face, I mean, the dog says, the gangster of love don't need no fried chicken. What?
Fuck me.
What? So Patrick starts running. And the dog runs after him, and we can see maggots coming out of the dog's mouth. Yes. And then, so it's just like one or two on the sides, right? It's just some maggots. And Patrick is running, but he gets to like a dead end, and he turns around, and he starts screaming. And the dog fucking opens his mouth, and like this cannon jet stream of maggots just gets sprayed at him. And it's not even like slimy. There was nothing but the bugs. I was like, that's a weird choice. But okay. It's all weird. No. And then the dog turns into a mist and like zooms through the house and into Jimmy's body. Okay. We now see that maggots are starting to fall from the ceiling in the club. And so it's like falling into people's drinks and on their heads. And like one guy eats a piece of pizza that has maggots on it. Oh Sorry, gosh, that's it.
You're okay. That's just making me think of that time that we were at their house and there was an earwig in my Pepsi and I was like...
I'm sorry.
I know. I felt like so bad spitting up on their carpet, but I was like,
No, that was yucky.
Listen, I like my protein. But I don't like it like that.
No. But yeah, so it's kind of like just a few, like a sprinkle, if you will, of maggots. And then all of a sudden it's like pouring, dumping. And so everyone's freaking out and running outside, obviously.
Yeah.
And we see Jimmy, who is now in his full body. Okay. And Jimmy is Snoop Dogg. It's Snoop Dogg. It's been Snoop Dogg the whole time. Like, can you picture Snoop Dogg's face on the mirrors above you being like, go, boy? Like, why? Who thought of this? Why did you fund this, Snoopy? Why? Snoop Dogg. In his gangster pinstripe suit, big hat, of course, it's Snoop Dogg.
Of course it's Snoop Dogg. This whole time I was also like, is it Dr. Xandor? Like,
that would be amazing.
But then I was like,
Nope. No, it's just Snoop Dogg.
Now I have like a lot less like him making Pearl stab him just seems weird now.
It was.
Not romantic, it seems weird.
It was weird. So we see him
Poor
walking
Snoop.
up from the basement, and as he does, he like blows on a broken light bulb and it causes it to flame. And so, like, this big ball of fire, like, follows him up the stairs and, like, explodes onto the ground floor.
Okay.
I don't know. And so, Jimmy walks up and he sees Patrick and Cynthia and he throws a switchblade at them. Okay. And then he goes upstairs and he takes his ring off of Maurice's finger.
Okay, but, like, you're expecting that to, like, be your daughter.
I don't know if he knows that. I don't know.
I guess.
I think he's trying to kill the group because they were the ones who, like, took over his house, But he takes the ring off Maurice's finger and he's like, guess you won't be needing this, motherfucker. This is just very... Snoop is not a good actor.
No, he needs to stick with the nature documentaries.
Yeah.
That's a crocodile.
That's a crocodile. So everybody is standing outside, like, watching the house burn at this point, right? And Pearl comes up for Cynthia, and Jimmy just walks out the front door and stands there, and he sees Pearl, and she kind of, like, sees him and is like, what the fuck? And then he kind of, like, vanishes into smoke.
Okay.
And then the weird guy neighbor also comes down, and he's like, yeah, he comes up to Pearl, and he's like, we should have done this a long time ago, which I assume means, like, burning the place down. The next scene...
Who's the neighbor?
We'll see. Okay, we'll find out. The next scene is back at Pearl's place. Sorry, this is a long one.
Oh, you're okay.
And Cynthia is like, why did that man try to kill us? Who even is he? Like, what is happening? And Pearl goes, he's your father. You have his eyes. I was like, this is not the time
for
that.
No.
What?
I would straight up be like, yeah, he's your dad. Sorry, but like...
Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit happening.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not, you have his eyes. I was like, Mom, no.
Let's talk about that later, Mother, please. Thank you.
Something.
We're being haunted right now.
Yeah. So we cut to the neighbor guy, who is now sitting upstairs at his table, and he's like shaking as he drinks alcohol, and he has a gun on the table. And I realized now that this is Jimmy's bodyguard.
Oh.
Okay. And he is drinking, and through the glass he can see Jimmy's reflection like in the window. And so he shoots at it, but it's not Jimmy, obviously. And then Jimmy shows up behind him, and he is like, Jimmy, I was on your side the whole time, man. Aren't we brothers? Like, come on, we go way back. And Jimmy shows him a vision of each of his friends stabbing him, and he's like, that's how I see. That's my perspective on this, so I don't think so. And Jimmy cuts his throat, and as he's like laying there dying, he's like petting his head, and Jimmy's like, swing low, sweet chariot. I was like, okay, that's weird.
All right, Snoop.
Yeah.
This movie just went from like, okay,
to like fucking weird.
Yeah, to
like they were on drugs for sure when they wrote this movie. Like it's a given.
Yeah.
So next we see Jimmy walking down the empty streets, present day, but we keep getting flashes of the 70s when everything was lively and happy and there were kids and blah blah blah, right? Next we see Patrick barge into his father's office where his dad is sitting there, and he's like, did you do this? I know you didn't want us to open the club. Did you do this? And I don't know how the dad knows what happened, but the dad is like, I didn't do this. I wouldn't have, risked your life for all of this. And so he obviously knows that it got burned down. I don't know. Yeah. And the dad is like, everything about that neighborhood is in the past, and the past is dead. And Patrick's like, no, your past is alive, and it killed Maurice. And the dad is like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So we switch back to Jimmy, who's walking down the street, and the two drug dealers from the beginning walk up behind him, and they're like, hey, you looking to buy something? And Snoop Dogg goes, nah, man, I got a natural high. A supernatural high.
Oh my fucking hell.
No. Yeah. So Jimmy turns and cuts one of their throats with his switchblade. And the other guy shoots him a couple times, which does nothing, but panic response. And so Jimmy grabs the other one by the throat. And then we don't see how he kills him. We just see blood splatter across the brick wall next to them. Okay. So there's a splatter of blood. Okay. And then there was another spray of blood, but it forms outlines of their bodies in blood on the wall. It was real dumb.
Okay.
It was real dumb. It was real bad.
Okay.
So there's just the blood outlines, like a crime scene investigation going on. Yeah. All right. Next we see Pearl, who is at her house, and she starts laying out tarot cards. And she gets the Tower, the Couple, and Death.
Oh.
Okay. And there's a breeze that comes through her room, and it blows out the candles that she has lit. And Jimmy's hand reaches out from the darkness and strokes her face. And Cynthia walks in and sees this, and the hand retracts into the darkness and is like, "Rah!" And she goes over to comfort her mom, and she pours her a drink, and Mom is like, I think Jimmy's gonna kill all of the people, all of your friends who took over the house and all of the people from that night. And she's like, we have to try to stop him.
I'm just saying, okay, I'm just saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I would totally get revenge on the people that murdered me.
Yeah.
Okay. But these random, maybe Maurice, you took my ring.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
The other kids literally found your body and released you and gave you the ability to
come back.
I would not. Ghost revenge doesn't make no sense to me.
Maybe he's like, I don't want you in my house.
Sure,
so
but
die.
I would be like, I'm a ghost and alive now, and I absolutely would be like, you can keep it.
You can have it, sir.
It's for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just, as a ghost, I'm gonna have I'm gonna go haunt a fucking lawyer and be like, these are my terms and conditions of being a ghost.
Yeah.
And you know. So that way I can literally show it to people and be like, oh, hi, I'm haunting you.
Here's my contract.
Here you go. These are the reasons why I'm haunting you, but I'm not haunting you. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
If you get in my way, though, that's a little different.
Yeah.
If you do something to wrong me.
I will come after you.
I will come after you, and I will murder you, and I will.
It's in the contract.
It's in the contract.
It's binding.
But we didn't sign no contract. Oh, you signed it when you killed me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like,
and you signed it when you moved in.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Ghosts. Anyway, okay.
They make up their own rules.
Yep. As they go along too.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know,
worst
right?
part.
I mean, they can. Why not?
I guess.
But yeah, Cynthia's like talking about how they don't deserve any of this, and how the guys don't deserve to be killed over this, and whatever. And Pearl's like, I'm gonna stop this because I have nothing to lose except for you. Like, I'm gonna, this is not gonna happen. The next scene is Eddie Mack, who has his lady laying on the pool table, and they're, doing stuff. And the girl gets up to go off and use the bathroom. And after she's been gone for like 10 seconds, I swear, Eddie's like, hey, where'd you go? Are you coming back? Where'd you go? And he calls her Snowflake because she's white. And so he just keeps calling after her. He's like, Snowflake! Hey, Snowflake! Hey, Snowflake! For like a whole minute. I was like, dude. And so he's like wandering through his bar calling out for her, and he slips and he looks down and realizes it's a puddle of blood.
Oh.
And there's a trail that leads...
Did they kill Snowflake?
Yeah.
Oh, because she didn't do shit!
No. There's a trail that leads to a garbage can, and her legs are like hanging out of the garbage can.
Poor Snowflake.
Yeah. So he like pulls out his gun and he's like yelling at whoever it is to come out and face him and whatever. And we see Jimmy stab a knife into the pool table and like drag it along the green. Hold on. It starts bleeding. The pool table seeps blood.
Is this the Beast's house?
Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast, where everyone is turned...
Everyone's alive?
No sense.
I don't know.
Why is it bleeding?
I don't know.
Is it his knife that's bleeding? Is the knife that bleeds?
Maybe, but like why also?
But also like, fuck you, you know how expensive it is to refelt a pool table? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. So we see that it's Jimmy, and Eddie's like, is that you, Jimmy? No, we killed you. I killed you. I stabbed you. Like all this stuff.
Stop saying it, because I'm gonna kill you even more.
He's like, we buried you in your bitch's rags and all this stuff. And he starts shooting at Jimmy, which does nothing. But he hits a mirror and breaks it. And so Jimmy, with his magical ghosty powers, picks up the shards and hurls them at Eddie.
Oh.
So he gets like pinned to the wall.
Oh.
And Jimmy goes up behind him and cuts off Eddie's head.
Oh.
Okay?
With the switchblade?
With the switchblade.
Oh, that's a lot.
Just fucking wait.
Okay.
We haven't even gotten to a weird part yet.
Okay.
So.
I feel like this is pretty fucking weird. But...
I know. So next we see Lupovich, and he gets a phone call from Eddie. Okay? He's like, hey, I'm in the spot waiting for you. Where are you? And Lupovich is like, okay, I'm coming. And we next see, we cut to Jimmy, and we hear Eddie's voice being like, what are you doing with me? What is going on? And he is carrying Eddie's head that is still animated and alive. And Jimmy's like, I am using your head to carry your soul around. What?
What kind of voodoo shit is that?
I don't know.
Like, that's...
I mean, it kind of gets explained, but also, like, fucking no.
What fucking no.
So, we see Lupovich walk into, like, this weird place where there's, like, candles lit, and there's a baggie of drugs on the table. Mm-hmm. And so he, like, goes up to it and picks it up, and we see Jimmy behind him. And he walks up with Eddie's head, and is, like, hanging it in Lupovich's face, which I don't know why he didn't just faint on the fucking spot, but okay. And Jimmy hands over a pipe to the cop. And just, like, forces it into his mouth so that he has to breathe it in. And then Jimmy puts his hand over Lupovich's mouth, and his mouth, like, disappears. So there's only skin there. Okay. And he lifts Lupovich up, and he hangs him on, like, a meat hook, and then he stabs him. Okay. So now we cut to Pearl and Cynthia, who are walking up to Patrick's house, like the dad's house. And they're like, we gotta get in here. We gotta try to save Jeremiah from this. And meanwhile, Jeremiah's in his office, and Jimmy shows up with Eddie and now Lupovich's heads. Both of them.
Okay.
And Patrick busts in, but his dad is gone. And there is, like, a hole in the window, but it looks like it's, like, melted, not, like, shattered.
Okay.
It was weird.
It's the flames of his vengeance.
I guess. Now we see the old building again, the club. But the atmosphere is, like, green and spooky now. Like, bright green.
Okay.
And, like, smoky and spooky and weird. Then, back at the house, Patrick and his brother and Cynthia decide they need to go over to the building, the club. And we see them driving over, and Pearl is explaining that everyone's body is 3 different parts: the body, the soul, and the spirit. And that the spirit lives in a person's blood. So Jimmy's blood must still be in the building. The soul and the spirit? Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they had been like, yeah, it's like your body and your soul and your heart, I would be like, I could kind of believe that a little different than just your soul and your spirit. But like,
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
But the spirit is in the blood, so his blood must be in the building somewhere, and that's why he's alive and attached to it. Okay. I guess. So, yeah. So the group goes, they get to the building, and they go into the basement from, like, big basement doors on the outside, and they show Pearl where they found the skeleton, and she realizes that he was buried in her dress, which has his blood on it. Oh. So they have to burn the dress. Okay. As they're in the basement, there's, like, an earthquake type situation that happens, and there's like a bunch of rubble that falls and blocks the doorway out. Okay. So the guys are clearing it up, and as that's happening, Pearl notices that the elevator has come all the way down to the basement and like dings. And so she goes to check it out, which again, don't. And as she is doing that, it closes with her inside. And everyone like runs over and is like, no, and like Cynthia's like, Mom, no. And the elevator like shoots her up to the top of the building. Okay. Just like zoom zoom. And so we now see Jimmy with Jeremiah and the other heads. Jeremiah's not dead. And he has the heads and he's in the room, the big meeting room. And the walls are like the slimy ghost walls. And Jimmy takes the heads and pushes them into the walls. Okay. So I think that's why he took their heads, so that he could like give them to the land of the dead and be like, here you go. Okay. I don't know. Okay. And then he's like talking to Jeremiah about what he did and how they had been friends since they were little and all this stuff. And he like pushes Jeremiah's head in so that we see like, these groaning, creepy, slimy people. And then he pulls him out. And he like does that a few different times to like torture him. Or whatever.
Man, it's like the worst kind of swirly. Like this.
Yeah. But yeah, Jeremiah's like, what do you want, man? Like, what can I do? What do you want? And he's like, can you give me my life back? And Jeremiah's like, man, I can't do that. And he's like, okay. And he pushes him all the way in.
Oh, yeah. Bye, Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm. We see Pearl walk into the big room, but now there's like hundreds of burning red candles everywhere. And we realize that it's the room that Jimmy was killed in. And she like walks over and puts her hand on the floor where he died and stuff. And Jimmy appears behind her and holds up her bloody dress. And then he like magics it onto her body. And she's like back in her old self, and she has like her afro and stuff again.
Cute.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. And then it flashes to the group who have decided...
Wait, is her dress still bloody?
No. Oh, okay. It's back how it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It flashes to the group who have decided to climb up the ladder that's in the elevator shaft. Yeah. And once they get to the top, Patrick like pushes his way through the fabric between worlds. Okay. Kind of a thing, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Okay.
It was like a baby being born. And now everything is in a purple filter.
Okay.
Okay. And it's like the same house. Like we can see the staircase and all that stuff, but the walls are all slimy and like it's creepy. And there's like weird like cavernous tunnels everywhere. Okay. Yeah. So they decide to head upstairs and they run into Maurice, who is dead.
Yeah.
But he's like smiling all creepy and he walks away and Bill like goes after him. He's like, Maurice, wait. And he reaches out to him and then he gets grabbed and killed by the slimy bodies.
Sad.
Yeah. We flash back to Pearl and Jimmy, who are now dancing together. Yeah. And Pearl is like obviously in this like dream-like state. And Patrick and Cynthia walk in and they see Jimmy and Pearl. And Jimmy's like, hey, baby girl, welcome home. And she seems like she's like in a dream state. So she goes up and hugs him.
So he figured it out then?
Oh, that it's his daughter? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Patrick hears his name being called. And it's like he's looking in either a mirror or a picture frame, but it's like we can see the bodies in the mirror or whatever. And his dad is in the wall of bodies, like reaching out to him, like, help me, son, help me. So he keeps getting closer and he's like, Dad, what is going on? And his dad reaches out and grabs Patrick's throat. And Patrick has to cut his dad's arm off, so it's a good thing he had a knife. I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
But he cuts his dad's arm off to free himself, and then he goes to stab Jimmy, but, like, obviously nothing really happens, but the dream kind of breaks at that point.
Okay.
And we see Jimmy, his face is, like, sunken in, and he, like, doesn't have eyebrows, and he looks real weird. Okay. I don't know. It was real weird. He grabs Patrick, and Patrick just starts, like, spinning around in the air with, like, mistiness around him, but it seriously looked like the three brothers from Casper were like doing a joke. Like it was bad. It was bad. And he's like spinning and yelling. And Pearl realizes now that she is wearing the bloody dress in real life. And it is still covered in blood. And she's like, I know what I have to do. And so she grabs a candle and she tells Jimmy that she loves him. And then she lights the dress on fire while she's wearing it.
No, I would be ripping that shit off.
Right?
Like,
why? So Patrick gets dropped and he grabs Cynthia, who's like yelling and crying about her mom, obviously, but the house starts like crumbling around them. And they go to the elevator shaft and Patrick is like, we have to jump. And she's like, I can't jump. What are you no. And so he jumps first and he like looks back up and we don't see Cynthia at first. And he's like, come on, you have to jump. And so she jumps down and they run back into the basement. And so we can see like yellow like daylight coming through and he's like going through the rubble to get out the door. And they kind of stand in front of the ruined building and Patrick finds the picture of Pearl and Jimmy. And Jimmy does the same thing where he like looks up at Patrick in the picture. And we can see Cynthia sitting over behind him and she's like kind of just like smiling all creepy. And we see a maggot crawl out of her mouth. Yeah. And then we hear Jimmy's voice say, it's doggy dog, man. Doggy dog. And she opens her mouth and a stream of maggots sprays out. The end. What?
Okay.
Thoughts? Anything?
Okay, so listen.
Yeah, please tell me. I will listen.
Okay.
Tell me. All about it. The movie was 1 hour and 36 fucking minutes long. It was so long.
What? Okay, I mean, if anything, Jimmy is resourceful as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is true.
So, like, yeah. Fuck him for possessing his own daughter.
Yeah. But also, how did he if the blood was burned and he was, like, dead? I don't understand.
Maybe also, because she is his blood?
Oh, maybe. But also, like, why is he so fucking powerful and magic-y in the first place?
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, no other fucking ghost can do this.
No.
Like,
why was there the dog?
Yeah.
Why was it connected to his body?
Yeah.
What did that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
I mean, it would have made a whole lot of sense if he had a dog. Like, that was, like, his dog, you know?
Snoop Dogg.
He's Snoop Dogg. But, like, if he had, like, if that was, like, his dog that went everywhere with him, you know? Yeah. It was, like, his guard dog and shit. I would have been like, oh, yeah, that makes 1,000% sense. And, like, there's a connection. Yeah. You know? Like.
Nope. Just a dog.
Okay.
That has been living in the house forever.
I guess. Since the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
30, 40 years.
Yeah. All right, what do you think?
So, for filming, I gave it a 6 because it was made in 2001, so it wasn't great quality, but it was still well done. Like, there was a budget here, right? Okay. The acting, I gave a 5. Most of it was pretty decent and believable and done really well, but then there were just some people, Snoop Dogg, who did not act well at all and just kind of, it like pulled me out of it. How I was just like, it's Snoop Dogg. Yeah. Like, this is weird. It's just Snoop Dogg. For the story, I gave it a 2 because what the actual
fuck? None of that made any sense.
No. Like the main premise of like him haunting the building and coming back to like, sure, maybe. Sure. But like everything else?
Yeah. What convoluted plan
I don't know.
is this that needed to like...
Yeah. Drugs, man.
Drugs, man.
So yeah, I don't know why he was so magical and powerful, why eating meat brought him back to life. Yeah. Like, why couldn't the dog get out and just eat meat off the streets? Yeah. I don't know. I don't fucking know. So
why would the bodyguard hang around the building afterwards? Like,
right?
What?
I don't know. Why wouldn't you move?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Moved.
Yeah.
I would have wanted nothing to do with that damn place.
Especially because, like, they make it seem like this neighborhood is a fucking ghost town at this point. Like, no one is there. Yeah. It's a bad place to be. Yeah. Like, maybe it's cheap. I don't know. So for effects, like I said, like, the CGI wasn't great, but it was okay. And the practical effects were really good, except for the fucking blood. Yeah. I cannot get past how so easy terrible. To make
blood. That's, like, the first thing they fucking teach you in effects school.
Yeah. It's dark, people. Blood is dark. Yeah. Stop using bright red blood. Yep. Stop it. But yeah, so for that alone, I gave it a 2. Because I was like, I can't go forward with anything higher when the blood looks like that. Yeah. I can't do it. So overall, I feel like the 4.3 is pretty accurate. Like, I would go somewhere between, like, 3.8, 4, like, in that realm. Because, like, it was like, if you want to watch it, you'll get a good laugh out of it, but it's not a good horror movie, you know? Like, it's not good. It's fucking weird.
Here's a question I have for you, though.
Okay.
Do you think Jimmy would have been better played by Snoop Dogg or Flava Flav?
Oh, God. I feel like it's got to go to Snoop.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Flava Flav just always comes off as so stupid.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I don't know if that's real or
Did
if that's
I tell you
an
I met
act.
him one time?
You met Flava
Well,
Flav?
kind of. Danielle and I were in an airport, and we were just waiting to fly, and we look over and we see this dude walking down, like, no one is around him, but like 10 feet behind him is like all these people carrying bags, like, I'm pretty sure it was his entourage and stuff, but he's walking along, he's got his hats, he's got his big clock and stuff, and we were like, is that Flava Flav? So we lean back and we go, Flava Flav, and he turns around and goes, yeah, and then keeps walking, and we were like, oh, we just met Flava Flav. Like, I mean, he was a good, like, a couple yards away from us, but like,
met is a loose term, but yeah.
But
sure.
I'm like, I got Flava Flav to turn around and go, yeah, at me, so like,
wow.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like a real actor should have done it.
Yeah.
Really. But, yeah. I don't know. It was just
But I mean, if
weird.
you have to go with a celebrity.
Then probably Snoop Dogg, I guess. But it was just so weird. And, like, he was obviously just himself.
Uh-huh.
He sounded like himself. He didn't really act. He just, like, talked like Snoop Dogg. Like, it was really weird. It was bizarre.
Oh, man.
So,
Do you think Will Smith would have been better?
Oh,
Like,
no. No. I don't know who, like, what actual actor would have made it better, but it was just, like, it was almost so quirky that it had to be him.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it was made for him.
Yeah.
Literally. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's on Tubi. If you want to watch it, I'm not telling you to not to, but also, like, you don't need to.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that great, but it's a fun time. And, like, Tony and I were just like, what the actual fuck is going on? Like, the whole time we were like, okay. So yeah, that's all I have for you this week. I'm not really sorry about it because at least it was a fun ride, right? You know, but I hope you guys enjoyed. We love you.
We love you.
Have a great time.
Have a great time. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Let us know what you think by leaving a comment or sending us an email at bmoviebashpodcast@gmail.com.
You can listen to our episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Apple, Amazon Music, and Audible, or you can find the video versions on our YouTube channel.
If you want to support the podcast, you can find our Kofi link on our Anchor page. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends.